The first light of dawn crept slowly over the North African coast, painting the horizon in soft gold and pale crimson. The air was cool, carrying the scent of salt from the sea and the dry dust of the desert. A thin layer of mist clung to the sand dunes, shifting in the breeze like a ghostly curtain. In the stillness, the distant sound of engines could be heard, the rumble of war on the move, the mechanical heartbeat of an army in motion. Out of the haze came the silhouette of a man walking with steady purpose. A man whose name would echo far beyond the battlefield, Erwin Rommel. To the Allies, he would become the Desert Fox, the master of surprise, the commander whose movements could never be predicted. To his own countrymen, he was the embodiment of military brilliance, a national figure whose victories offered hope during dark days. And to some, even among his enemies, he stood out for something rare in the Second World War, a sense of fairness. But could a man fight for Nazi Germany and still be remembered as honorable? Could the codes of an older, chivalrous style of warfare survive in an age of total war? This documentary explores that question through the life, battles, and legacy of one of history's most fascinating military leaders. Erwin Johannes Eugen Rommel was born on November 15, 1891, in the town of Heidenheim, in the Kingdom of Württemberg. His father was a schoolmaster, his mother the daughter of a town councillor. From a young age, Rommel displayed a mechanical mind, drawn more to building and experimenting than to academic theory. For a time, he dreamed of becoming an engineer. That dream changed at 18, when he joined the 124th Infantry Regiment. The decision would lead him into the chaos of the First World War, where his name first began to be noticed. Rommel served on multiple fronts: France, Romania, and the rugged mountains of Italy. He earned a reputation for quick thinking and aggressive tactics, often acting independently to seize an advantage. During the Battle of Caporetto in 1917, his bold maneuvering helped capture thousands of Italian soldiers, earning him the Pour le Mérite, Germany's highest military honor at the time. When the war ended, Rommel remained in the downsized Reichswehr, training young officers. The interwar years were marked by restrictions on Germany's military, but they also gave him time to study and refine his ideas about warfare. In 1937, he published Infantry Attacks, a blend of memoir and tactical manual. In it, Rommel argued that victory depended on speed, the element of surprise, and the ability to adapt to changing circumstances. The book caught the attention of Adolf Hitler, who was drawn to Rommel's aggressive yet calculated thinking. That attention would soon shape Rommel's career in the next global conflict. At the outbreak of the Second World War, Rommel commanded Hitler's personal escort during the invasion of Poland. A prestigious assignment, but far from the frontline leadership he desired. In 1940, during the invasion of France, he was given command of the 7th Panzer Division. Rommel pushed his division deep into enemy territory at a pace so fast that even German command sometimes lost track of his whereabouts. The division bypassed strong points, outflanked defenses, and seemed to materialize without warning, earning the nickname Ghost Division. Rommel was always close to the action, personally scouting positions, making rapid decisions, and inspiring his troops with his presence. His boldness won him admiration from his soldiers and grudging respect from his enemies. In early 1941, Rommel was sent to Libya to command the newly formed Afrikakorps and support Italy's faltering war effort. The North African desert was a battlefield unlike any other, scorching heat by day, freezing cold by night, and distances so vast that supply lines could break under their own weight. Rommel adapted quickly. He used deception to mislead the enemy, fast-moving flanking attacks to exploit weaknesses, and constant pressure to keep the Allies off balance. Even when outnumbered, his forces achieved striking victories. It was here that the British press began calling him the Desert Fox, a name that would follow him for the rest of his life. Behind the battlefield drama was a chess match of strategy and supply. The Axis relied on long, vulnerable shipping routes across the Mediterranean, constantly harassed by the Royal Navy and the RAF. Every tank, shell, and drop of fuel that reached Rommel's forces had already survived a battle at sea. He learned to fight with what he had, often improvising and using captured Allied equipment to keep his army moving. There were also accounts, from both sides, that Rommel treated prisoners of war with dignity, respected the Geneva Conventions, and ordered his men to avoid unnecessary cruelty. In a conflict marked by atrocities, such behavior stood out. But the Desert War was unforgiving. Allied counterattacks, worsening logistics, and America's entry into the war gradually eroded his position. By 1943, Rommel's forces were in retreat, and he was recalled to Europe. Rommel's next assignment placed him in charge of fortifying the Atlantikwall, the massive line of coastal defenses meant to repel an Allied invasion. He inspected the fortifications himself, often traveling hundreds of kilometers to check even the smallest details. He argued for meeting the Allies directly on the beaches, believing that if they established a foothold, they could not be pushed back. Many in the German high command disagreed, favoring a more centralized reserve strategy. On June 6, 1944, D-Day, Rommel was away visiting his family in Germany. By the time he returned, the Allies had secured strong positions, and indecision among German leaders prevented any coordinated counterattack. By the summer of 1944, Rommel's confidence in Germany's leadership had collapsed. Reports suggest he explored the possibility of negotiating peace with the Allies. Whether he was directly involved in the July 20th plot to assassinate Hitler remains debated, but the Gestapo linked his name to the conspirators. Hitler, aware of Rommel's popularity, offered him a grim choice: take his own life in exchange for his family's safety, or face a public trial that would condemn them as well. On October 14, 1944, Rommel swallowed a cyanide capsule in his hometown of Herrlingen. His death was officially attributed to war injuries, and he was honored with a state funeral in Ulm, a final gesture of propaganda. In the years after the war, Rommel's legacy was shaped by a mix of fact and myth. British wartime propaganda had already painted him as a gallant opponent, and this image persisted for decades. In the 1950s and 1960s, he became a symbol in West Germany, not of Nazism, but of professional soldiering, used to help rehabilitate the image of the German army during the Cold War. Hollywood films and popular biographies turned him into a household name. In recent decades, historians have revisited the record, questioning how much of the chivalrous Rommel was truth and how much was wartime propaganda. Supporters point to his tactical genius, humane conduct, and distance from Nazi ideology. Critics counter that he still served the regime until the end and never publicly opposed its crimes. Today, Rommel remains a figure of debate. Streets, schools, and military facilities in some places still bear his name. In others, commemorations have been removed. His book, Infantry Attacks, is still studied in military academies, valued for its lessons in maneuver warfare rather than ideology. Rommel's life raises enduring questions. Can a soldier remain honorable while serving a dishonorable cause? Was he the last of an older breed of officer, holding fast to outdated ideals in an age that no longer recognized them? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between. Rommel was both a man of principle and a servant of a ruthless regime. That contradiction is what keeps his name alive in historical debate, ensuring that his story will continue to provoke discussion for generations to come. And as long as wars are fought and military leaders are remembered, the Desert Fox will remain a symbol, admired, criticized, and never forgotten. If you enjoyed this story and want more journeys into the past, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and leave a like. Many more remarkable histories are yet to come.